Hi class, and welcome to your next video on cell respiration. So we're going to talk about cell respiration specifically on how we produce energy and what is produced as a byproduct of that energy. So energy processes, there are two processes. Cellular respiration and photosynthesis. We're more going to talk about cellular respiration, but photosynthesis is directly tied to cellular respiration. So it is something that we are going to want to know. So the first thing we want to know is energy is necessary for life. These include growth and the things we use energy for are growth and transport, manufacturing, movement, reproduction, and all kinds of many more things. Any kind of cellular processes are going to be included in this. Remember, we looked at cell transport. That's going to require energy, especially if it's active transport. If you are growing, that requires energy. So energy is just required for life. Energy that supports life on Earth is captured from the sun's rays, reaching Earth through photosynthesis. So you can't just absorb the energy from the sun. You have to use the energy of plants or the sun through plants because they change that energy into a usable form. So organisms that can perform photosynthesis include plants, algae, and bacteria, and we often call these producers. So they're going to change that energy from a radiant energy into a chemical energy, and that chemical energy is going to be a sugar. So the two processes combined will provide organisms with energy, and ultimately all energy comes from the sun. No matter if you're getting your energy from a hamburger or you're getting it from an apple, it originally came from the sun. Okay, so photosynthesis and cellular respiration. Energy in sunlight is used in photosynthesis to make glucose from carbon dioxide and water with the release of oxygen. Other organisms use oxygen and sugar to make ATP, which is energy, and release carbon dioxide and water. So remember how I said in the very beginning of the video that they are connected. If we look here at this, we see how they are connected. So the light energy, remember all energy comes from the sun, comes into the chloroplast, and we go through photosynthesis. Don't worry so much about what the process of photosynthesis is, but it's going to create sugars and oxygen. And that's going to be what goes into cellular respiration. And cellular respiration is going to rearrange everything. Remember when we talked about enzymes? It's just going to break apart those bonds and rearrange everything. And so it's going to make ATP, carbon dioxide, and water. Well, that carbon dioxide and water is going to be something that you need for photosynthesis. So what we say is the products of one are the reactants of the other. And plants actually can perform both, and they need to perform both. So breathing and cellular respiration are connected. One of the reasons we call cellular respiration. So you breathe in oxygen, which is needed for cell respiration, and you breathe out the byproduct of carbon dioxide. So a byproduct is anything you don't actually need. Cellular respiration needs oxygen to help harvest energy from glucose and produce carbon dioxide. And breathing in oxygen while exhaling rids the body of carbon dioxide produced by cellular respiration. So we get our oxygen from the atmosphere, we get rid of the carbon dioxide that we produced in cellular respiration when we breathe out. So cellular respiration is a process that transfers energy from the bonds in glucose to ATP. ATP is our usable energy form. Cellular respiration produces 38 ATP molecules from each glucose molecule. Other foods, organic molecules, can be used as a source of energy as well. So here is your chemical equation, if you can see it. You have glucose and oxygen, and they are going to go through cellular respiration in the cell, and they're going to create carbon dioxide, water, and energy. So the chemical equation is C6H12O6 plus 6O2, and you're breathing in that oxygen. You're going to go through cell respiration, and you're going to breathe out the 6 carbon dioxide. You're going to have 6 waters, and then you're going to have the ATP you're going to use as energy. So you have 3 stages of cellular respiration. The first stage is called glycolysis. It breaks down glucose, which is 6 carbons, into 2 pyruvates. And those pyruvates each have 3 carbons. And it occurs in the cytoplasm of the cell. Remember, that's the jelly-like material that holds everything together. In glycolysis, glucose is converted into those 2 pyruvates. We also make NAD plus into NADH. Now, NADH is what is called an electron carrier, and so it goes into the electron transport chain. All you need to know is it is an electron carrier. 2 ATP are made, so ATP are going to be used for energy, and this does not use oxygen. Other parts of cellular respiration are going to use oxygen, but this particular part does not. The next part is the citric acid cycle, or also known as the Krebs cycle. It breaks down 2 pyruvate into carbon dioxide. It supplies the third stage with electrons by making NADH and FADH2. These are also more electron carriers. So you're going from NAD plus to NADH and FAD plus to FADH2. 1 glucose makes the cycle turn twice. So for each pyruvate that you have, you turn the cycle once. And this occurs in the mitochondria of the cell. So you may have heard that the mitochondria is the powerhouse. Because cellular respiration occurs in the mitochondria, it's making all of the energy for the cell. So the citric acid cycle makes 2 carbon dioxide, 3 NADH, 1 FADH2, and 1 ATP per turn. But remember, we have 2 turns. So total, it makes 4 CO2s, 6 NADHs, 2 FADH2s, and 2 ATPs per glucose. So here's just a picture of the citric acid cycle. This is not something you need to memorize or do anything with. It just kind of shows you everything that's going on. It's a good picture to look at and kind of know that there's a lot going on in the citric acid cycle in order to convert everything and get everything where we need it. So the last stage is called the electron transport chain, and electrons are shuttled through the electron transport chain. So remember, they're dropped off by those carriers. Remember, we said NADH and FADH2 were our electron carriers. They're going to be dropped off. And this is where ATP is generated by something called chemiosmosis. Don't necessarily need you to know what this is. Water is created by oxygen accepting electrons as the final electron acceptor, and it occurs in the inner mitochondrial membrane. So the electron transport chain in chemiosmosis, NADH and FADH2 drop off their electrons. It occurs in the inner mitochondrial membrane. This is something you probably want to put in your notebook. This is an overall picture of everything. So we have glycolysis. Glucose turns into pyruvate. Electrons are made and carried to the electron transport chain. We make 2 ATP here. Then we go into the Krebs cycle with our pyruvate. We turn twice. We make NADHs and FADH2s. We make 2 ATPs. Then we go to the electron transport chain, and we drop off all of our electrons. We go through chemiosmosis, and we make the rest of our ATPs. So in total, we have made 38 ATPs. Okay, so we make 34 ATPs in the electron transport chains, 2 in the Krebs cycle and 2 in glycolysis. Make sure you have something that kind of looks like this in your notebook, maybe take a screenshot of this and put it in your notebook. Make sure you have some good notes in your notebook. We will talk about this and we will review it. I know there's a lot of new terms, so we will work with this in class.